stop. Stop it. Stop it. No, don't stop it. I need the attention. Hello. You're very good. Thank you. Hello. My name is Cougar Morrison. Cougar as in rar, and Morrison like the scary street in Midland where I grew up. I am a drag queen. It's one of the most fun jobs in the world because I get paid to play extreme dress-ups. It's also one of the most confronting jobs in the world because looking like this, there's no possible place I can go where I blend in. So if you've ever felt like you don't quite blend into society, good news, this talk is for you. Before I was brave, vivacious Cougar, I was also very terrified Clint. Because growing up, I'd believed the world's biggest lie, that if you are different, you are doomed. Clint grew up in a conservative town called Midland. This is a place where if you wear the colour pink, you get bashed. I knew I was different. That put me in direct danger, so I had to hide. Eventually, I'd had enough of hiding and I came out to my family, which went down like an anchovy-flavoured milkshake. So dramatic little me packed my life into 2 suitcases and boarded a plane for New York City, not knowing where I'd be living once I got off the plane. There was no plan B. I was convinced I could not go back to my family, so this had to work. In my first 12 months living in New York City, I was working 3 jobs at the same time, making about $9 an hour. I got so sick, I was nearly hospitalised, and I got mugged. I'm very efficient. Was this stressful? Yes! But as I said, I didn't have a plan B, so any time I found myself in these very difficult, stressful situations, I somehow had to make it work. At which point I would always remember my mum's voice in my head going, stress is a silent killer. Stress is so unhealthy. So you can imagine my confusion where here I am on the other side of the world trying to make stress work for me. I'm either being very brave or very stupid. I finally got a sign that I might be doing something right, and that sign came in the form of a video about lobsters. Go with me, it will make sense. It explained that a lobster's shell is also their skeleton on the outside of their body. So the only way a little lobster can grow and get larger is to painfully shed that shell and grow a new one. Now they do repeat this process many, many times in their lifespan, each time getting a little bit larger and a little bit stronger. But what truly fascinated me was that the stimulus for making this entire transformation possible was stress. If there was no stress in a lobster's life, it would never get stronger. I was stunned. I was also a little bit concerned that I now shared so many similarities to a crustacean, and I really hope those similarities did not include smelling like a crustacean. Looking back at my time in New York City, I could actually now pinpoint specific moments where I had certainly shed a shell. I'm like, yep, when that happened, that was a shell popping off. And when this happened, possibly even 2. And as that process was going on, something quite remarkable started to happen. There was this crazy idea locked in the back of my mind, and it started to bubble up to the surface. This idea was locked away for very, very good reason. It was scary. It was about taking all the things of Clint that do not fit in and making a career out of it. It's nuts. But after 2 years of shedding shells, that idea was not quite as scary anymore, and Cougar Morrison was born. You see, Cougar is made up entirely of everything about Clint that's different, that's quirky, that does not blend. And instead of hiding and suppressing those differences, Cougar takes them, nurtures them, and champions them. Cougar put a pair of killer heels on top of the feet to show you all just how graceful a boy really can be. Clint has very wide hips. What does a boy need with those? But rather than covering them up in a baggy t-shirt, Cougar puts on a corset to accentuate that curve. When I am Cougar Morrison and I'm rocking out all of Clint's differences, I get to say and do all the things that they would feel damn scared to do. It's almost like I become the superhero version of myself. Clint is to Clark Kent as Cougar is to Superman. We're both the same person, we both have all the same abilities, but you will find that one of us has a much snazzier wardrobe. Spoiler alert, it's me. I certainly never would have guessed growing up that my superhero self would be, of all things, a drag queen. Never would have guessed that in a million years. Obsessed with wigs and makeup, because when I was growing up, what I was obsessed with was the X-Men. Oh yes, the theme song, the powers. Now, if you've seen the films of the X-Men, you'll remember that these characters are just regular folk until they reach adolescence, and then, bam, they have the most incredible powers. But that is not how you work or how I work. We are not born with it. We have to work for it. And by the time I did start finally working as Cougar Morrison, well, I had shed many, many shells to get to that point, and I was pretty proud of that. In fact, maybe a bit cocky. And I had a very humbling realization that I may have quite a few more to go. And I realized this as I was having my Uber driver drop me directly in front of the club week after week. And I was having that done because I was really scared of how people would react when they see me. You see, being heckled and receiving abuse is a very common experience for drag artists. And that bugs me. Why are people so offended when they see me when all I'm doing is walking to work? I desperately want to change their minds out there on the street, but how am I meant to do that if I only exist hidden in the dark in a nightclub with only like-minded people? So I leapt out of my comfort zone and I started doing drag not just in the dark, but in broad daylight too, which is a miracle in itself because drag is not a daytime sport. Fluorescent lights are the enemy. So there I was having photo shoots in the city and posing for artworks in the Cultural Arts Centre. And it worked. The shells were flying off me fast and furious. I was feeling great. My confidence was soaring. That instinct to hide that Clint had, well, that was still there. But because of this newfound strength, that instinct was no longer in control of me. The more that Cougar and Clint get to coexist in this itty-bitty body, the more I find that the line that separates us is actually blurring. Now, that's not to say that Clint wakes up every morning already in a wig and makeup. No. That's to say more that because of Cougar's fire and strength, Clint now has the courage to be seen and to stand up for themselves. In fact, many of Clint's family and friends would even say that they enjoy arguing a bit too much. So find out what it is about yourself that you're hiding. What makes you different? What makes you a bit quirky? Think on that, find it, nurture it, and champion it. Will this be a wonderful, all-round, glowing, positive experience? No, it will not. But as we all now know, shedding a shell is not an entirely pleasant experience. So when you do inevitably find yourself in a very difficult, uncomfortable, stressful situation, before you freak out, try to remember that this discomfort is a very natural part of your growing process. And if you use it correctly, you'll get a step closer to finding your very own superhero self. So good luck, brave lobsters. Thank you.